The thought of rituals and sacrifices sent chills down his spine. He initially disagreed, but as time passed and his earnings dwindled, it felt like the $5,000 he last collected was his last stroke of luck in the game. He knew that to keep cashing out, he had to heed Victor's advice. "I will take you to meet Barbara," Victor said. "But once you enter, there's no turning back." That night, Ben couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, his mind racing with thoughts of the unknown. He had spent his whole life rejecting darkness, but now he was about to step into it. He knew, tomorrow, there would be no turning back. The city of Lagos never slept. From Victor's penthouse balcony, Ben watched the endless stream of cars weaving through the streets, their headlights flickering like fireflies in the night. The distant sound of sirens mixed with the rhythm of Afrobeats blasting from a nearby club. Victor sat beside him, swirling his glass of Hennessy. His gold wristwatch caught the city lights, casting a glint into Ben's eyes. "I know it will be hard for you to decide," Victor said, his voice calm but firm. "But, my friend, now you will know if you want to eat well or still beg by the roadside." Ben shifted in his seat, gripping the cold railing. He had thought scamming lonely women and greedy investors was the worst he could do. But this was different. "What exactly do you mean by Yahoo Plus?" he asked carefully. Victor smirked. "You will understand soon. It's not something we explain with words. Experience will teach you." A cold shiver ran down Ben's spine. Victor took a long sip from his glass and leaned closer. "I have a meeting with Barbara tomorrow night. If you change your mind, just tell me. But if you are not ready, no worries. Just know that this level you are at will not take you far." Ben exhaled sharply. He felt trapped, like a man standing at the edge of a cliff, staring down into the unknown. That night, sleep refused to come. He lay in his king-sized bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind restless. His phone buzzed. It was his mother. "Ben, my son, how are you?" Her voice was warm, but there was an unusual heaviness to it. "Mama, I'm fine," he lied. She sighed. "I had a dream about you, Ben, a strange one. I saw you standing at a crossroads, surrounded by thick darkness. You kept walking, but the farther you went, the darker it became." Ben swallowed hard. "My son, whatever you are doing, be careful. Not all that glitters is gold." The line went silent for a moment. Then she spoke again, softer this time. "And don't forget who you are." The call ended, but the unease in Ben's chest remained. The next morning, Ben decided to clear his head. He took a walk through the bustling streets of Victoria Island, trying to drown his thoughts in the noise of Lagos. At a street corner, he saw a group of young boys, no older than 17, gathered around a flashy car. One of them popped a bottle of champagne, spraying the liquid into the air as they cheered. "Dude, we just cashed out. $2 million from just one client," one of them shouted. Ben felt a knot tighten in his stomach. They were just kids. Kids who had already made more money than he had seen in his entire life. His phone buzzed again, another message from Victor. "Hope you are ready for tonight." Ben closed his eyes, inhaling deeply. Tonight? Would he take the step, or would he turn back? The answer was becoming less clear. Nightfall arrived with an eerie stillness. The air was thick with humidity, and the city lights flickered like distant stars. Ben sat in the living room, staring at the Rolex watch Victor had gifted him earlier that evening. It felt heavy on his wrist, like a reminder of the burden he was about to carry. Victor, dressed in all black, emerged from his bedroom, car keys dangling from his fingers. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes carried a silent message. "It's time. We will not force you," he said as he leaned against the doorway. "But if you follow me tonight, just know that it's not child's play." Ben exhaled sharply, his mind racing. The words of his mother echoed in his head. Not all that glitters is gold. But then, the weight of his empty bank account, the job rejections, and the ridicule from family and friends also weighed heavily on him. Slowly, he stood up. "Let's go." Victor smirked. "Good choice, my friend." As they stepped out of the penthouse, Ben felt a strange mix of fear and anticipation. The roads of Lagos stretched out before them, leading him into a world he might never return from. The drive was long and silent. Victor's Mercedes sliced through the darkness, the only sound being the hum of the engine and the occasional beep of his phone. The further they went, the fewer streetlights there were. Soon, They left the bustling city behind and entered a deserted stretch of road flanked by thick trees. Ben shifted uncomfortably. Where exactly are we going? Victor didn't answer immediately. He just smirked and tapped his fingers against the steering wheel. You will see. Minutes later, they pulled up in front of an old, abandoned-looking house deep in the forest. The walls were cracked, and the roof sagged in places. But the most unsettling thing was the eerie silence. No birds, no insects, just the sound of the wind rustling through the trees. Ben's heartbeat quickened. This place looks creepy, bro, he muttered. Victor chuckled. Are you scared? Relax. Barber is not an ordinary man, but he will show you the way. As they approached the entrance, the heavy wooden door creaked open on its own. A dimly lit corridor stretched before them, lined with burning candles. The air smelled of something ancient, herbs, incense, and something metallic, almost like blood. Ben hesitated at the threshold, his instincts screaming at him to turn back. But then, a deep voice boomed from within. Enter. Victor stepped in without hesitation, but Ben took a moment before following. As he crossed the doorway, he felt a cold shiver run down his spine. Something told him that from this moment on, his life would never be the same. The moment Ben stepped into the dimly lit corridor, the air around him thickened, as if unseen eyes were watching his every move. The flickering candlelight cast long, dancing shadows on the cracked walls, making the space feel both alive and suffocating. Victor walked ahead with the ease of someone who had been here before. Ben, on the other hand, hesitated with every step. His heartbeat pounded in his ears, but he forced himself to move forward. A sudden rustling sound made him freeze. He turned sharply, his eyes darting to the dark corners of the hallway. Nothing, just shadows. Ben, Victor's voice called ahead. Don't look back, just follow me. His throat felt dry. Why? Victor didn't answer. They reached a large wooden door at the end of the corridor. Strange carvings covered its surface, ancient symbols that pulsed faintly in the candlelight. Ben couldn't understand them, but they sent a cold shiver through his body. Victor raised his fist and knocked 3 times. Silence. Then, the door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit chamber. The room was unlike anything Ben had ever seen. Thick red drapes covered the walls, and in the center stood a massive wooden table. On it lay objects wrapped in white cloth, their shapes barely distinguishable. The air carried a heavy scent, earthy, metallic, and strangely sweet. At the far end of the room, an old man sat on a throne-like chair. His face was hidden beneath the shadows of his hood, but his presence was overwhelming. Victor, you have returned. Watch out for part 3.